Good morning, Year 6. It's time for your Maths Starter today. The first two questions are some division questions. You might want to do the short method that we've talked about, or you might want to use the factor method. It's up to you. Number 3 is a BIDMAS question. Number 4 is a fraction question, and it is an addition. So remember, these denominators need to be made the same. So you might have to pause the video there, have a go at these 4, and then unpause and see if you got them correct. Alright, so let's have a look at number 1. It is 7,590 divided by 15. So we don't know our 15 times table, so we could use the factor method, couldn't we? Thinking of two numbers that multiply together to get to 15, could do 3 and 5. However, 15 times tables aren't that difficult to work out, so we will use the short method for this one. Maybe for this one, for number 2, we'll use the factor method. So let's do our 15 times table. So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75 and 90. Now stop there. So how many times does 15 go into 7? It doesn't. Put the 0 there, carry that 7 across. How many times does 15 go into 75? Goes in once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. How many times does 15 go into 9? It doesn't. And the 9 gets carried over. How many times does 15 go into 90? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see it got to an answer there of 506. Now if you did do the factor method, splitting this up to 3 and 5, you should still have got to that answer of 506. So I'll just rub these out so I've got a bit more space for number 2. Right, so we've got 6,144 divided by 24. Now 24 is a trickier one than 15 to write out our times table, so let's do the factor method for this. Now there are lots of different ones we could do for this. We could do 3 and 8, we could do 6 and 4 as well, we could do 2 and 12. So use the times tables that you feel most confident with for this. So I think we will do for this, let's do 3 and 8. Okay, so let's divide by 3 first of all, and then we'll divide by 8 afterwards. Our answer will come down here, remember. So we've chosen 3 and 8 because 3 times 8 is 24. They're the two factors, aren't they? So how many times does 3 go into 6? It goes in twice. How many times does 3 go into 1? It doesn't. This one gets carried over. How many times does 3 go into 14? Let's count. 3, 6, 9, 12 goes in 4 times with 2 left. How many times does 3 go into 24? It goes in 8 times. This number comes down here, and this is what we divide now by 8 by the other factor. How many times does 8 go into 1? It doesn't. Into 2, sorry, it doesn't, and that gets carried over. How many times does 8 go into 20? 8, 16, it goes in twice with 4 left. How many times does 8 go into 44? It goes in 5 times with 4 left. And then the last one, how many times does 8 go into 48? It goes in 6 times. So to the answer of 256. Now, even if you wrote out your 24s down here, or you decided to use the factors of 12 and 2 or 4 and 6, you should still have got this answer of 256. Okay, number 3 is a BIDMAS question. Now we've got no brackets, but we do have indices here. 4 cubed. Now remember, that's not 4 times 3. The answer is not 12 for this. It's 4 times 4 times 4. So 4 times 4 we know is 16. And it's 16 times 4. So we could just double that twice if we wanted to, or we could write it out formally. But we know that that answer is 64. Then 64 divided by 8. This is what comes down. 64 divided by 8. We know 8 times 8 is 64. So 8 divided by 8 is 8. There's your answer. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. 4 9ths add a quarter. Now we can't add these fractions at the moment because the denominators are different. What would we put as the denominator in the answer? Would it be 4 or 9, something in between? We don't know. So we have to make these denominators the same by turning both of these fractions into equivalent fractions. So they're still the same size. The denominators are just the same. So if we have a look at this, remember if you're struggling with this, you can always multiply the denominators together, and that will always get you a denominator that is in both the 9 times tables and the 4 times tables in this case. So let's do that. Let's multiply these together, and it gets us to 36. And in this case, it actually is the lowest denominator. So we're turning them both into 36. So this has had to be times by 4, hasn't it, to turn it into 36. So we need to do the same for the numerator to ensure it's still an equivalent fraction. 4 times 4 is 16. Remember, it's an addition. This 4 has been multiplied by 9 to turn it into 36. So we need to multiply the numerator by 9 as well, don't we, to make sure it's still an equivalent fraction. And now we can add these up. Denominator still stays 36, and now we can add these up. So 16 add 9 is 25. So the answer is 25 over 36.